From 1939 to 1945, World War II was the largest and the deadliest war in human history, involving more than 30 countries and 100 million combatants. For the first 2 years of the war, the United States was technically a neutral country, while the war raged on in Europe and Japan advanced on territory in the Pacific. But all of that changed on December the 7th, 1941, when Japan's Navy Air Service initiated a surprise strike on our military base at Pearl Harbor in Honolulu, Hawaii. The following day, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt called the attack a date that will live in infamy. Right after his speech, the United States entered World War II. 83 years ago today was the devastating attack and is the subject of this week's Freedom Facts, where we remember that fateful day and we honor its heroes. Freedom Fact number 1, the early Sunday morning hit. Hawaii residents plus tens of thousands of U.S. service members were just beginning to start their day until alarms began to ring. Just before 8 o'clock a.m. local time, the sky was filled with Japanese aircraft. 2 waves consisting of approximately 353 Japanese planes launched an attack after attack after attack, targeting our battleships and our airfields across Pearl Harbor. The 2-wave attack lasted for nearly a full hour and sunk 2 of America's key battleships, the USS Arizona and the USS Utah, which both still lie on the floor of the harbor today. 18 other American warships were damaged, and approximately 188 of our nation's aircraft at Pearl Harbor were also destroyed. The United States did strike down 29 of Japan's planes, but the Japanese strike prevented full immediate retaliation by our military. Freedom Fact number 2, the aftermath. 2,403 combined American service members and civilians were lost in the attack, and nearly 1,200 others were injured. The attack on Pearl Harbor led to the U.S. declaring war on Japan by a unanimous 82-0 vote in the United States Senate. The Japanese joined the other Axis powers, who then all declared war against the United States. In the months after Pearl Harbor, the country quickly mobilized its troops and weaponry and economy to prepare for the international fight against Nazism and authoritarianism. With solid recruitment because of the brazen attack on our homeland, America's military grew to nearly 16 million combined soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who would eventually participate in the conflict. Freedom Fact number 3, rebuilding while at war. The United States had to quickly overcome Japan's airstrike on Pearl Harbor and prepare for war. Pearl Harbor was rebuilt within months. Even some of our ships were returned to service within 3 months, including the USS Pennsylvania, the USS Maryland, and the USS Tennessee. Other more damaged ships took more than a year to set sail again. Our response time was aided by the good fortune that none of our aircraft carriers were in port at Pearl at the moment of Japan's attacks. And Freedom Fact number 4, some Pearl Harbor heroes. There are so many of them to count. There was Ohio resident James Ward, who enlisted in the Navy at 19 years old and was on the USS Oklahoma. During the attack, he used his flashlight to help his fellow crewmen escape the sinking ship. Ward didn't make it out alive and was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor and a Purple Heart for his heroic actions. Then there was African-American sailor Doris Miller, a mess attendant, 3rd class, who served on the USS West Virginia. After doing his job, serving breakfast to his crew that morning, his ship was struck by a Japanese torpedo. Despite the traumatic event, he never panicked and assisted all of the injured sailors he came across, moving them across the deck. Despite no real training with guns, he picked up a weapon and he fired at the Japanese planes, warding several of them off from his vessel. He was also tragically lost in the attack and was later awarded the Navy Cross and a Purple Heart. In all, a total of 15 men of the United States Navy were awarded the Medal of Honor. 4 of those awards went to sailors and 1 officer aboard the stricken USS California, which valiantly attempted to steam away from the attack. Tragically, of the 4, only 1 survived the day. Memorials at Pearl Harbor have been in place since just after the war ended in 1945. 45 years later, in 1994, Congress designated December 7th as National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. Each year, ceremonies are held at the location where so many perished beneath the waves, entombed in the ships on which they served. Pearl Harbor still operates today as an active U.S. naval base. We salute all of the brave servicemen and the female medical workers who dealt with this tragedy. At Pearl Harbor, they will always be real American heroes and a constant reminder that freedom isn't free.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.